Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, A Magical Life with Ayla. I'm Ayla Hillel, and today we're going to be talking about your power. So let's get to it. So if you've been following my channel, you know that my primary spiel is on the energy of magic, the energy and vibration of magic. And what that means is that we take a light look at the scientific explanation for magic. And the reason this is important to me is because so many times when it comes to spiritual things, which magic is a spiritual thing, we follow along with blind faith, and we just either we just believe what we're told, or we don't really go and research it out for ourselves. We read something someplace or somebody told us something, but we never really go and find out for ourselves. So I was hoping that this channel would be a jumping off place for you to go and do your own research. There's plenty of resources out in the world, just on the net alone, to help you understand the vibration and the energy of magic. Now, with that said, let's talk about power. This word power makes people very uncomfortable, doesn't it? And you know why. Everybody knows why, because we've heard of the megalomaniac who is all powerful, and he uses his power or her power to go around the world hurting people. We hear about people who exert their power over other people. When we talk about magic, we're not talking about any of this stuff. What we're talking about is your ability, first of all, to understand your life, and second of all, to change the things about your life you would like to change. And as a sovereign divine being, you have a right to change your life. You have a right to use your magic to change your life. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about power. There's a lot of different aspects of life that make us feel powerless. A lack of money makes us feel powerless. If we are desiring with all of our heart to have a relationship and we do not have relationships in our lives, that can leave us in a place of powerlessness. If we are ill, that can really make us feel powerless, particularly if you have a chronic illness, something that just goes on and on and on, something that the doctors may have told you that this illness can't be healed. Those will leave us in a place of powerlessness. So one of the things that I want to talk about today when we talk about power is some of the other things that happen in magic that we don't always think of, we may not always be aware of. I want to stop right here for a moment and say that my website is online, amagicallifewithayla.com, and if you look at the buttons up at the right, there's one that says magic. Click on that, and just close to the top of the list, there is a title that says Before you cast a spell. Click on that. This is not warnings about casting a circle. You already know that. How to protect yourself while you're doing magic or while you're on the astral, that's all included. What before you cast a spell section is going to be about is some of the things that we bump up against when we're doing our magic, and exercises and ideas for minimizing those things. Now, one thing in particular, one big thing that we bump up against when we're doing our magic is something called divine life plan. Now, contrary to some belief, God does not plan your life out. You plan your life out. God wants to have an existential experience through you planning your life out and then going and executing the living of that life. God, source energy, gets to have an experience through that. We get to have an experience through that. And in the process, we gain evolution. Every lifetime that we come and we do here, we gain evolution. So there's this idea that before we come here, that we actually write down a blueprint or a life plan, as some call it. And this life plan gives us many, 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 many options. And the main points of this life plan are things that you want to experience. God doesn't say, I have work for you. You're going to go to Earth and you're going to do this work. Instead, you get to decide what type of experiences that you have while you're here. Now, you may write in a chronic disease or disorder, something that you're going to struggle with your whole life. That's part of your life plan. That is an aspect of your life plan. Now, the question then becomes, if something is a part of your life plan, do you have the ability to change that aspect with your magic? What do you think? I think in some cases we have the ability to change that aspect of our life plan. I think in some cases we don't. It depends on whether that was a hard option or a soft option. I'm going to say it like that. So if this was non-negotiable, if it was something that you really wanted to come here and experience, maybe this was a big thing that's going to affect your evolution in a big way, and it's non-negotiable. So you get down here, you cannot work your magic to change that thing. In some cases, I would think of an example would be somebody who is developmentally delayed. If you've known a person with delays, you know how hard this life plan is. And it's hard to think about writing something like that down before you come down here. But on the other side, we know what we're aiming at. We may not have the whole picture while we're here in this third dimensional reality, but in the fifth dimension and higher, we've got the whole picture. We know what it was that we were trying to accomplish, trying to experience, trying to learn. We know what type of evolution that we're going to get out of that life plan. So we knew what we were doing when we wrote that down, even though that's a very, very hard life plan. Now, it's still up to the individual. This person who incarnated with these developmental delays, if they can understand the concepts of magic and they can understand working those concepts of magic, they could quite conceivably minimize the effects that that life plan is having on them. They could minimize the effects of what they wrote down in that life plan. Other times, I've met people with delays. We've talked about magic, and they don't understand what I'm saying to them. They have the questions. They have enough understanding to know how to ask the question, but into the development of that magic and the practice of that magic, it then becomes very muddled, I think, for them, and very convoluted. So it really depends on the individual. It really depends on what you wrote down that you wanted to accomplish, and whether that the aspect of that illness in your life plan was negotiable or non-negotiable. So it gets a little confusing when you start looking at it this way, because what you wrote in your life plan is a matter of free will. You wrote that down because you have free will. You know what you wanted. Also, the working of magic is a matter of free will. So, keeping in mind that everything is energy, everything is moving, everything is alive all the time, that's where we want to come at our study of magic from, is that everything is moving, everything is alive, everything is energy and vibration, and it's subject to our thoughts. So let's talk about a chronic illness. Let's talk about something that developed after you were born that maybe you have struggled with your whole life. There again, I really think that we have the option to change the vibration and the energy of situations in our lives, depending on whether we make that choice or not. So if you have a chronic illness and you want to get over that, you're going to work a lot of magic. It's going to be a lot of creating a new vibration. You're going to create a new vibration through your visualization, so that's your thoughts, through your positive words, so that's the speaking part of it, and through your deeds. So a person without this illness, how do they act? Maybe you're confined to a wheelchair and you can walk just a little bit. So you're going to have your visualizations of walking and running, maybe playing frisbee in the park, doing all kinds of fun things that require walking. You're going to have those thoughts. And a very magical person would surround themselves with people that are going to have those conversations with them. And perhaps maybe the doing part of this is you get up every day and you walk. You don't walk far. You walk as far as you can stand it. But that's the doing part of it. Maybe the doing part of it is some weight programs, lifting weight program that the physical therapist gave you. So this is a lot of energy. It's a lot of reprogramming your mind, because at one point your mind accepted what you saw, what was in the third dimensional reality. Your mind went, oh, that's the way it is. So in the practice of magic, you're going to reprogram that thought. Not that's the way it is, but this is the way it is. This is the new reality. And it may be that this was an experience that you wrote down and it's non-negotiable. So at that point, you work your magic, you have your visualizations, you have your magical conversations, and you have your divinely inspired actions. And if you don't heal that illness, I would almost bet that you can make it considerably better. So this is a little bit of double speak when we say, magic affects the energy and vibration of our lives, but only sometimes. But the process of life plan, of writing down a life plan and coming here and living out that life plan is so incredibly divine. It is as divine as your magic is. It's part of the big plan. It's part of who you are. And it really, whether or not you can change things in your life, really depends on the decision that you make at that moment. So sometimes, sometimes I go after my magic and I get kind of a slow start. I'm kind of wishy-washy about it. I go after it, but not real solid, not real committed. And that picks up after time. Maybe in the beginning, I just didn't have my head wrapped around it, whatever the reason was. And that's fine. If you mess around with something long enough, you're going to become convinced that that's the way to go. The Abrahams, who I'm very heavily influenced by, talk about having these visualizations simply because they feel good, for no other reason. Not that you're really trying to create your reality, although it's going to create your reality, but because that visualization puts you into a state of joy, and that energy emitting out of you draws unto itself. So if you're having these, I can walk, I'm powerful, I'm well, in my mind, I see myself doing this and I see myself doing that. Even if you wrote it down, that particular aspect or that particular illness is non-negotiable, a lot of good is going to come into your life through the working of that magic. There's going to be times that those things are negotiable. I came down here, I suffered with this, and then I worked my magic and I got over it. Sometimes in our life plan, as we're writing our life plan, it's good enough that we had an experience with that thing. We don't have to have a whole lifetime of that experience. Other times, it's not good enough to just have an experience with that. We need to have it for the entire lifetime. It just depends on what we were trying to accomplish when we wrote our life plan down. This is so powerful. This is such a powerful idea that you planned your life before you came here. That is so important, based on the evolution that you wanted, based on the experiences that you wanted to have, based on lessons you wanted to learn. I know some teachers say that coming here is not about lessons. It's not about learning lessons. Okay, if it's not, I'm going to tell you something. Lessons are a definite byproduct. There is no way that you can come here and have some of the experiences that some of us are having and not learn from that. I know other teachers that say that our number one goal here is to have fun, to learn how to have fun. Okay, that sounds like a wonderful idea. So in magic, I think one of the things that we have to do is, first and foremost, I mean, you learned this as if you're not an older witch, if you're a younger witch, you've learned this in your magic, in your training, that you have to make up your mind. You create nothing with your magic until you make up your mind what you want first. And I have to say, honest to goodness, that is the hardest part of magic, is making up your mind. Now, do you have to have your mind made up? Absolutely. Before you get started, you know exactly what you want, and that's carved in stone, and it's never going to change. No. Your idea about what you want as you travel down the path of magic with that aspect of your life, as you create the vibration and the energy to create this thing in your life, that idea is going to change. It's going to evolve. And in the beginning, it's going to evolve. And then you're going to reach a place where you're visualizing and where you might be talking about it with other magical people. And you might be taking little steps towards this. There's going to come a place where it gels. After several months of working with an idea and watching it mutate and evolve, you will come to a place where it gels. And even if it changes a little after that, it's yours. You get to do with it what you want to do with it. So it's kind of confusing when we talk about these. I had a friend who argued with me once and said, if you broke your arm and the arm was in an L, say you broke it so bad that the bone came up and then went a different direction, your magic is not going to set that bone. Your magic is not going to put everything back the way it is. But what your magic does do, and I find this to be the truth more often than not, is that when I set about something, what happens is what looks like a natural sequence of events. So I broke this bone and it's really bad, and a passerby walks by and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm a doctor. I know how to set this. And so, how cool was that this person just happened by? But I was emitting the vibration of needing a medical person who could fix my broken bone. When I first moved into the house I'm living in right now, the backyard was a mess, and I wanted to straighten it out a little bit, get rid of some of the dirt, put down some gravel, and then that way my tiny house could sit comfortably in the backyard, or I would be comfortable with my tiny house sitting in the backyard. And me, thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips, went and rented a little bobcat. Now, if you know what a bobcat is, it's a little tiny scoop, but it's smaller. It looks like a little pregnant roller skate. It's a tiny little thing. Well, I don't know the first thing about working with this type of equipment, so I get it into my backyard. I start scooping up some dirt, and I get stuck in the hole that I'm creating. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, okay, I should have taken a class or something. I need to get this dirt out of my backyard. I need to, and I'm emitting this energy. It's like, and it wasn't a desperate energy. It was kind of like a kind of an excited energy. I was on an adventure. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't having any sort of fear. And this fellow walks by. He doesn't walk by. He drives by in the alley in his pickup truck, and he says, "Hey, miss, are you stuck?" I was so stuck. I was really stuck. And I got out of the bobcat, and I looked at him, and I said, "I am really stuck." And he said, "I can get you unstuck." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I would love you forever if you did." And so he gets out of his car, and to his hitch, he hooks a chain, and then he hooks it to the bobcat, and he very gently pulls the bobcat out of the hole that I had created. So he comes back, and he takes the chain off his truck and puts everything away. And he says, "What is it exactly are you trying to do here?" So I told him, take out my phone, and I show him a picture of tiny house, and I said, "I built this." And he says, "Oh, nice." And I said, "And it's been sitting back here in the mud for the past however many months, and I would like to smooth this out, get rid of some of the dirt, and lay down some gravel so that my tiny house can come and sit comfortably." And he says, "Well, do you know what you're doing?" And I have no problem whatsoever saying, "Absolutely not. I have no idea what I'm doing." He says, "Would you like some help?" And I said, "No, because I can't pay you." He'd already given me his card. I already knew he was a contractor. And he said, "How about if you pay me whatever you can afford?" And I was like, okay. So he scooped up a bunch of dirt, got rid of it. I was able to put down my ground cover. The guy came the next day with the gravel. We smeared the gravel around, got it all nice and straight, and Tiny House was able to come back and sit not in the mud, not crooked and leaning over to one side. So I was really putting that energy out there. This renting a bobcat and trying to learn how to scoop up dirt was a grand adventure for me. And I was really putting that energy out there, that this is a wonderful thing. It's going to turn out really great. I just got to learn what I'm doing. And then by a natural sequence of events, this fellow happens by. Down my alley. Who would have thought? So this is another thing that we bump up against. We have the life plans, but then we also have this idea that when we work our magic, that the clouds are going to part and that, the gods are going to come down on their chariots and they're going to change our whole life. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a natural sequence of events. And it's going to still require a little bit of thought and words and actions on your part. Now, that sounds like a lot of work. But when you stop to consider that you're doing it all the time anyway, you're having these thoughts about what you want to create in your life and you're talking to your magical friends about it. Don't talk to your non-magical friends about it because they're not going to understand. But talk to your magical friends about it. Have conversations with them. Create that energy with your words. And create that energy with your actions. So what did I do? I went and did something that was completely inappropriate for my knowledge level. I went and rented a bobcat. I figured once I got it home, I could learn how to drive it and I could learn how to work it. But there's little knobs here and there's little buttons here and there's little levers here that are not always clearly marked. So you don't know that you need those things. Where I was stuck in the hole that I had created in the mud, there was a little knob that you turn and it lifts the whole thing up so that you can become, I was high-centered is what it was. And so you can get some clearance underneath the equipment and back up without having this ridge holding everything up underneath. So I was a little out of my league, but I went and did something anyway. And I figured, even if I brought the bobcat home, lost 24 hours of using it, I could go rent it again later once I had learned some stuff. But as it turned out, with my energy and my vibration, I attracted this person into that moment who was like, I know what you need. So about your power, it's like, it's not going to be, your magic is not going to manifest in this big, bold, blazing manner. It's going to look very natural. Now, another thing that we bump up against when we are practicing magic is what I call a latent vibration. So let's say that you had a really crappy upbringing and your parents were always telling you that you're going to amount to nothing, that you don't know what you're doing in your life, and you're just this or you're just that. I mean, some of you, like myself, heard it all when you were growing up. That becomes a latent vibration. That becomes an old script that's playing back here in your subconscious mind, way back in the back. Now, you might be able to say, no, but I never believed them. I never believed them when they said that about me. But it's in there. Now, your subconscious is an interesting place in that it records everything without judgment. There's no this is good, this is bad. It's just there. It's your conscious mind that makes a judgment about this. And this is where we get some of our subconscious recordings affecting behavior. And one of the biggest ways that the subconscious affects our behavior is, have you ever heard somebody say, oh, I have great ideas, but I never finish anything that I start? I wonder how many times they were told that as a kid. Well, you never finish anything that you start. What a damaging thing to say to a child. So that child's going to become an adult who's going to be like, I'm a loser because I never finish anything that I start. How many of you were told that you were stupid growing up? That's an old script that's playing in the background. So then you come into this idea as an adult that you're powerful, that your thoughts and your words and your actions are powerful. But what's undoing that thought? What's undoing that conscious thought is that subconscious script playing in the back that you're not powerful, you're stupid. So this is another thing that we bump up against is latent vibration. Things that got into us at an earlier age, or let's say childhood was fine, but you grew up and you married somebody who's abusive. And listen to me, I am not just talking to the women here, I'm talking to the men. There are plenty of you men out there are abused by women. So you get into this abusive relationship, and this person says things to you that eats away at your power. It unravels your power. Or maybe they're physically abusive. That will unravel your power as well, because what does that do? If somebody's beating on you or slapping you, knocking you around, what does that do? It kind of makes you feel powerless, doesn't it? It makes you feel powerless. And we've already learned that those feelings are very powerful. Whether you are feeling powerful or whether you are not feeling powerful. So let's say you have a partner who's knocking you around. Very seldom do you ever find a physically abusive person that's not verbally abusive as well. But let's just say this person doesn't say a whole lot. They just knock you around. Just those feelings of not being able to fight back. If you fight back, it makes it worse, right? Maybe you're not strong enough to fight back. So this person basically has, what does this person have? Power over you, don't they? For that moment. Lots of people are able to get out of those situations. But for that moment, you are in that energy and that vibration of feeling powerlessness. Okay, feeling powerless. So we've got to overcome those feelings, the energy and the vibrations that those feelings created, because many times the energy and the vibration of those feelings are still playing in the back of our minds while we're out here in a positive mindset, creating this positive mindset. We are out here trying to create a new reality. We've got this back here undoing us, right? Okay, so that's a topic for another time. There are big things that we can do to imprint over the top of old negative scripts. So we'll do a video on that next time. But this is what I want to say about this video on power. Okay, so the truth of the matter is, the truth of you is, even with all of this other stuff that is going on, that has happened, your life plan, having old scripts, even with all of that, you are incredibly powerful. So where should you start? Okay, that becomes the question. If I got all of this old stuff going on, or I've got this life plan going on, where do I start? Where do I start to overcome, to use my magic to overcome these things? And the answer to that question is the first thing you use your magic for, the very first thing, is healing. Because if you are working magic from a place of illness, if you are working big magic from a place of being new to the path of magic, you're going to have a hit or a miss. Sometimes your magic's going to work really good and sometimes it's not. And you may not be able to see a clear criteria for that. But I've always noticed when I get ill, when I get a cold, I don't work any magic. I wait until I'm done with that. You can begin to use your magic to overcome addictions. You can begin to use your magic to help you heal. You can begin to use your magic to start to undo some of those old scripts and to heal from that. Healing is the most important. So when you go to my website, I'm working on a bunch of different stuff and I'm finishing up the second book. So it's going to be a little while. I'm going to try to have a lot of stuff caught up by the end of June. But when you go to my website, you click on magic and you see the heading before you cast a spell. This is all about healing. This is not about the mechanics of magic. You're going to grab the mechanics of magic as you start into using your magic. But healing is really important. And when I say healing, I don't mean you get well and then you move on. Healing is a daily process for the rest of your life. So what are you doing for exercise? What are you doing for nutrition? What are you doing for your mind? What are you doing for your spirit? These are all forms of healing, and we're going to discuss these things in this section in my website. So the website address is amagicallifewithayla.com. Very simple. And there's a blog there. There's a place you can go and buy my books. I'm in the process of installing a shop. So check it out. And if you don't mind, please like and subscribe to this channel and join us on Facebook. I am the High Priestess of Rowan Tree Pagan Ministries, and we have a Facebook page, Rowan Tree Pagan Ministries. So come and check that out and become part of the community. There's no security set on my personal Facebook page or the Rowan Trees Facebook page because we want you to be able to find us easily. So just go there and check it out, and we will see you soon. Blessed be.